I'm working on a design for a coffee roaster, a local coffee roaster, a small business in the area. And I've put together so far my wireframe layouts for a mobile first design and also a desktop design. And I was just going to step through the pretty simple process of turning that wireframe into more of a high fidelity finished design that we can use as a basis for code and starting to render up that website in HTML and CSS. So you can see here that my website has a logo up the top in the header, some text. I've got a series of thumbnails with some text overlay, and I'm going to go through the process of adding the imagery, typefaces, and applying a color palette to my wireframe. So I might start with getting the color palette up and running. I've got a couple of swatches up here with the colors that I'm going to use in this website. So I might implement those. Let's get started. We can change the background color of our canvas if we select the artboard that we're working on. We can see here that we've got an appearance fill. I click on that. You can see that I've colored it with a gray. I've also colored this my desktop with the same gray. I actually want to use this kind of tinted black color here as my background. So I'm going to grab the color picker and pick that color there. And you can see that my desktop's been recolored. My desktop artboard has been recolored. I'm going to add that color into my swatches in my color palette here by clicking on that little plus icon there, so I can reuse that when I come over to my mobile design there. It's pretty easy for me to add that color in there. I do also have another color, this kind of creamy color that I want to add into my swatches there for later, and I'm also going to add just the white in there as well. So I've got my three colors in the color picker ready to go, so I don't need those swatches anymore. Yeah, right, so my little menu icons here are going to be colored, and I'm going to add those, add the cream color to those. And also my footer links are also going to be colored with that cream color. So already getting a fair bit of the high fidelity design in place. I've got a bunch of images that I want to include in my thumbnails here, and to add those, it's as easy as opening up the folder of images that I want to include there, and I've kind of got these pre-prepared, and just drag them into your positions. And the final one. So that's nice and easy. In terms of other image assets, I want to include a logo, and so I'm just going to quickly open up Illustrator, and we'll have a look at that logo. So we're over in Illustrator, and you can see that this logo, you can see this is the logo that I've designed for our company. I've created the artwork in outlines, so it's just vectors now, and to include that into XD, I can easily just select those vectors and copy them into the pasteboard, tab back over to XD, and I can paste that into my canvas. You can see here it is. Oops. Just move that over there. Okay, now we can manipulate it a little bit easier. Obviously, I want to make it a little bit smaller. Oops. And I'm going to hold down Shift, Option, and Command to make sure that those objects don't all mesh together like they did before. You can actually see that all of those individual vectors are all separate and editable. I can edit them in XD, but I don't want to do that in this case. I want to transform all those objects in scale. So Command, Option, Shift, and then I can drag that down from the middle, resize it to around about the size that I need, something like that. But I want that logo to be set in white, so I can easily just select white in my color picker. And I'm just going to go ahead and remove that logo and replace it with my prepared finished version. And then I might do the same on holding Option and Shift down. I can duplicate that across to the other page there. So that's looking good. Might just have a look at our layout just to check that it's in line with the layout. Yep. Finally, I'm going to include the typography that I intended. I've set up my wireframe using Arial, and I'm going to replace Arial with something a little bit better. I'm going to use Open Sans for my kind of secondary font, just Open Sans regular, which I think is a bit nicer. And for these kind of breakout headings, or these are kind of thumbnail headings, but my headings in my design are going to be using a font that I've got from the Adobe fonts called Rigid Square, which has got I don't know, some interesting kind of angles on it. All right, so there we go. I've taken my wireframe for my local business, for my small business, taken that from a wireframe layout over to more of a high fidelity design, something that's more closer to what I want to use as my reference point for HTML and CSS.